YouTubers, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. 'Tis I, Mike Martins, your housing guru, your housing discussion expert, broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia. Today is May 3rd, 2018. If you're watching this in Australia, it is May 3rd. Most of the world is in May 3rd.
That's right.
Most of the world is already in May 3rd. It's already almost midnight or 11 p.m. on the East Coast. Anyways, guys, let's get down to what's going on. I got my guest here, Hiroshi.
Hello, I'm Hiroshi.
He's seen on my channel before. He comes and visits me here in Merritt on a regular basis to make sure I'm okay.
That's right.
And so we got a lot of things happening right now, and Hiroshi sent me a link to a party thing. Can you send me that party thing again? Because
sure.
I don't know where it is. Do you see it here? It's not there.
I'll send it to you.
So he's going to send me a link to this party thing that he was talking about, this political party of what they're trying to do or what they're... So it answers a lot of people's questions and what we've been talking about. And a lot of people are getting very political on the channel, which is really nice. Because politics does tie into housing, and housing ties into economy. And unfortunately, the Canadian housing structure is built off our economy. Our economy is based on housing and student loans and unsecured debt. And... So I wanted to bring that up in today's show because it's very important that we all know this. So I got a lot of articles from Australia that we're going to read, a couple bizarre ones from New Zealand. Oh, where else are we moving to today? Oh, Seattle's out of control. It's out of control right now. So anyways, grab yourself a drink, popcorn, dim the lights, spend some time.
Hey, I see a couple people.
And the chat, oh yeah, the chat goes nuts. It's cool. The chat here is very interesting because it goes religious. Mm-hmm. Then it goes...
religious, really?
Oh, it goes everywhere. It goes everywhere. This chat goes everywhere, and I like it. Okay, so... We're going to kick off Vancouver. So, Hiroshi, what is your situation? You live in Vancouver, and... How is it expensive?
I'd say so, yeah. It's gone up and up. I'm renting. I got a small place that I'm sharing with Jasmine. We're paying $1,200 for the place plus utilities, and that's actually pretty good considering.
That is very good. That is very good.
Now the same place would be closer to 2,000, like around there.
Really, I want to bring this article up here because this article got a lot of discussion because a lot of people are. I've had a lot of people ask me if this was even a real article, and you said you've seen it on the paper there, or where'd you see this article?
No, I've seen that everywhere, man. On Facebook, a lot of places.
Okay, so it's not... I didn't make this up, right?
No, that's like... I think that came out a while ago, too. That's not even new.
Yeah, that's from March. So, City of Vancouver now defines $3,702 rent as affordable housing.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
How much was that a year? You said about 40 large?
About a little over 40,000, isn't it? Times 12, yeah.
Yeah. So, how much do you need to make, on your opinion, in Vancouver with the price of food... And the price... Well, you won't be needing fuel because you'll be living downtown. So you'd probably be using transit.
I think, like, to live comfortably with a family, you need, like, a household income of $150,000. That's about right with kids and stuff, yeah.
That's just to rent.
Yeah.
That's just renting. That's not even owning your damn place.
Well, I mean, you don't want to put more than 30% towards rent, do you? Like, some people are paying, like, 50, 60, 70, 80% of their money to rent. That's crazy.
Yeah, in California they are. There's, like, almost 50%, which is huge. Southern California, of course. And everyone's logging in, walking journey. Terenzo is commenting saying, Mike, I've been holding off to buy for the longest time now and starting to feel the regrets. Am I going crazy? Did I make the mistake? No, don't. You know what's going to... Okay, guys. I'm going to go to an article right now. It's kind of important. This is from Australia. And don't think it's not going to happen in Canada. You didn't make the wrong. You didn't make a big mistake because I'll tell you, rates are going up. The RBA can't lift rates when housing prices are falling. Right now in Australia, prices are falling, and it's approaching the double digits now. The problem is now they raise rates. You're paying more for a house than what it's worth. You're in trouble, and you're going to pay double the price of the house if they raise rates because interest basically accumulates, and your principal gets very little diminishing. You know, what's your experience with paying off friggin' high interest? Do you ever pay off a high interest credit card before?
Yeah.
How much of a tug of war is it?
Oh, it's terrible. It's nobody wants to do that.
And that's what's happening with houses. So I don't think you made the wrong. So anyways, Barty is saying, Mike, should I sell? You know what? Before rates go up, you know, is it a freehold property? Is it a condo? You know, you gotta. I would recommend right now would be a seller's. If you could sell right now, I would. If it was me, I'm not giving you advice because I'm not a legal. Can't even read. I have a grade 6 reading level, but I would sell right now. The time right now is to sell. And Terenzo's commenting back. Yes, my plan is to buy a home. I understand, but I recommend to. You just gotta have to hold off because right now, look what's happening in Australia. They're lifting rates while prices of homes are going down. People are going to pay more for their homes than what they're worth. They're underwater, especially with rates going up. It's going to make it harder, especially with half of mortgages in Canada being up for renewal in 2018. Half. Okay, now you're the conspiracy guru.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah, now listen to my question and be really honest with me.
Sure.
I said this yesterday, and a lot of people were commenting on this video when I said this. Did the bank knows, they have their numbers, they know their books. Did they purposely know that half of mortgages will be coming up for renewal in 2018, and then bang, raise the interest rates on people?
Of course they know. They know all the numbers.
Okay, do you think they purposely did it?
Well, of course, everything is purposeful. They know exactly what's going to happen. They see all the numbers. It's not like they're randomly increasing things while thinking about it. Of course it's planned. They don't just decide things like on a whim. I mean, these are people that...
Right, I understand that. But do you think they knew that rates were going to go up? Do you think they knew, you know, the situation? Did they knew that all these mortgages were up for renewal? Do you think they knew that, hey, let's hit them now with the interest rate increase?
I mean, did they pre-plan it?
Yes, yes.
Hard to say. I mean,
maybe. I know we have no proof, but I mean, it looks like that. 50%, hey, rates are going up 3 points. So TD raised this interest rate to 5.6 on the 5-year fixed. Right. That's huge, dude.
It's huge. It's like, it was 3 before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was prime. They kept it around prime, and then they decided to raise rates. RBC followed, Scotia followed, everybody else followed. National Bank followed,
so
everybody.
Like, that extra 2% or whatever from a few years back, that's a big deal for a lot of people, man. Especially if you have a house in Vancouver, it's like $1 million or whatever. You know, 2% more, that's a big...
That's about $17,000 more a year in finance charges.
Yeah.
So that's huge on $1 million. But nothing's $1 million, it's 1.6, 1.5. Yeah. So you
But even looking at, you know, condos and stuff, like, you know, places that are $500,000, still a big number.
Interesting. So, Trent, you know what, buddy? You want to buy outright? Move to Merritt. Move to Kelowna.
Yeah, I don't advise.
Yeah.
Like, get out of the city, man. Like, live in the smaller towns, you know, be self-sufficient, you know, learn how to hunt. That's what I think is the best thing. Yeah,
because, you know, I spoke to him in person, and we were talking about, he came to visit me at the store. And he was talking about, you know, buying and maybe start, you know what, I'd rather make $100 a day and then only need $50 a day to live off than make $3,000 a day and need $5,000 to live off. You get what I'm saying? It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. So if you're going to buy outright, buy a house in the interior and then open a business like I did. I did that. I left the city. I could have stayed in the city. But tell them how good my business was in Vancouver.
It's great. It was very good. Very busy all the time.
It wasn't like I was failing. It's just I needed to have children. And Hiroshi's heading there. So, you know, you've been in my house. You've been all around the house. You know what I'm doing here. You know what's up. You've been to my store. Did I make the right choice in your opinion? Well, totally. Elaborate. Tell me why.
Well, because first of all, you have an amazing house that you would never be able to get in Vancouver.
Tell them how big it is.
It's huge. It's like a palace, man.
Yeah. Tell them how big my backyard is.
It's humongous.
I'm not bragging. I'm telling.
No, it's a beautiful house, and you got it for a great rate, great price.
$260. Yeah,
which is like crazy, and it's, you know, like what, an hour and a half from Vancouver?
2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to, you can go to Vancouver, and like, what's the point of living in Vancouver? What's so good about it? You have like a higher crime rate. Like, my car got broken into before coming up here. I didn't have anything valuable in it.
How many times have you got broken into total?
Like 4 times. Remember that time outside your shop?
Yeah, that's right. Outside my store.
Yeah, they smashed the window. They took your computer. Remember?
Yeah.
Your old computer?
My old computer, yeah.
So, like, you know, crime is not good. Like, break-ins and stuff happen all the time. I don't see it getting any better. What's the advantage of living in Vancouver? Like, what do you get? What do you get for that? Okay, so maybe you have a slightly higher paying job, but
like, it's costing you more to live. I drive a kilometer a day, 2 kilometers to work.
Then the cost of living is way higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Property taxes are higher. Even gas is higher. Food is higher. Everything's higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see a big advantage. Like, what's the big advantage? Okay, so you get like more restaurants. Okay, that you got to agree the restaurants are pretty good, right? So you get a good selection of restaurants. Nightlife is not that great. Vancouver nightlife is like kind of a joke compared to other places. Like Toronto's better. Pretty much anywhere in America is better.
Mm-hmm.
What else is good about it? Okay, so it's driving distance to the U.S., so you can go and get cheaper cheese.
Yeah, cheaper cheese. We're talking about how expensive cheese is in Canada.
Cheese is super expensive.
Super expensive. Now, okay, so I'm living a very, very, very laid-back life as much as possible, you know, just getting out there, doing the do.
Hookers make more in the city also.
Yeah, that's what someone said there in the comments section.
True.
Yeah. Crime is rising in general. I see it daily. I live in No Daddy Alley. Not sure where that is. And there's lots going on here. I can get customers in small towns to spend $150K on a reno. Yeah, customers in small towns could spend on rentals. Like, I'm spending on rentals here. I'm going to get some interlock done on my driveway. I'm going to get some professional work on the house. I'm going to get some... Falsky's going to come up and paint it for me. Remember Falsky? He's going to come up and paint for this company. So, I could do this stuff. In Vancouver, if I had a house, I couldn't do it. I would be so house broke that I couldn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? So, someone's commenting, hello, everyone. The world seems to be getting worse before it gets better. That's Walking Journey. You got to watch his channel. It's really good, by the way. Yeah. Guys, tune into Walking Journey. He is a 2-time world champ. The gangs are everywhere in Surrey now. I believe that, guys. I believe it. Do you believe it?
Yeah. 100%. There's shootings all the time in Surrey. Isn't it like the highest crime rate in Canada even?
I don't know if it's the highest crime.
It's like pretty high, though.
It's high. Surrey would be like... If you're living in New York, Surrey would be like Surrey would be like Harlem.
Okay.
The Harlem of New York. It would be like that would be Surrey over the bridge, right? You got to cross a river to get there in Harlem. Never mind. So, but anyways, I'm just saying it's kind of like that, you know. And everyone in the comment section is commenting on there. And then old white guy tuned in. Don't forget to watch his channel, old white guy. You gotta watch this guy, Hiroshi. Old white guy is so good. The stuff he talks about is you.
Okay. Sure.
Old white guy. This is your mirrored image. He talks. He doesn't have a channel, but he talks exactly what you talk about, word for word, on a regular basis. He's really good. You know what I'm saying?
Best city in the Lower Mainland. What's the best city in the Lower Mainland?
The better safe. What's better safe than Surrey? What is the best city in the Lower Mainland? Oh Christ. I would say hope.
Well, it depends on what you want. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, to raise a family or something?
Raise a family in the Lower Mainland. I would say Hope, because it's still Lower Mainland, isn't it? It's still on that before we come north to Merritt. Yeah, Hope would be, man. Hope would be your... It's called Hope. I'm not saying Hope, but I mean, yeah.
Well, I guess so. It depends what your budget is. Like, did you have, like, $5 million? If you have $5 million and, like, anywhere almost, like North Van's really nice.
We need to debunk something here. Walking Journey says, the ghetto always has affordable housing. Not in Vancouver. Tell them it's no. No?
Not in Vancouver.
No way.
Even East Van is like not
it's like the cheapest house in East Van, what did we see? It was $996, almost $1 million. And I don't think you could live in it.
Yeah, like Langley's okay, right? Abbotsford and Langley are still kind of affordable. Coquitlam.
Yeah, but the crime in Langley's going up big time. Did you see that guy with that motion camera on Facebook, where it's called Langley Part 1, Part 2, and he has a camera and he makes a compilation of all the times people try to break in his car and police chasing people. Did you see that video?
Yeah.
It's like 40 minutes long and it's just hours.
I haven't seen that specific video, but I believe it.
You know, and I don't know. Someone says Hope is too far. Well, that's the most affordable / great place to raise a family. If you want to go further in, a Soyuz? Is that okay up? That's up by Maple Ditch, right?
Soyuz.
No, where's Maple Ditch? No, Maple Ditch.
Maple Ridge, you mean?
Yeah.
That's more Lower Mainland, dude. Soyuz is like near Kelowna, isn't it?
Okay, I'm thinking of something else. There's another town with a name like that. It sounds like that.
Maple Ridge, right?
There's Maple Ditch, but beside Maple Ditch to the right.
Pitt Meadows?
Yeah, the Pitt Meadows area, I think. Is it affordable there?
Yeah, it's more affordable for sure, but it's also like a long drive, and there's not like many good jobs there.
Let's all move to Mike Martin's residence. This is Mike Hecker. He's got my picture there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Hecker? Is he a heckler?
Yeah, he is.
Does he heckle you? Okay.
That affordable housing amount is nuts. Seems out of reach for even a doctor. Yes. So, anyways, so that's what old white guy said. You know what, guys? Listen to this. Somebody was telling me the other day, yeah, you know, I live in Vancouver and this and that, and I'm doing well here. And I'm like, oh, what do you do for work? I'm a doctor. Oh my God, you're broke. It's so true. Medical school. He's paying for medical school. He's paying for his university and all that stuff, and he's still paying. Student loans are through the roof, and he's got $98,000, almost $100K in student loan debt. And he started paying it 6 months ago since he started his practice. And he says sometimes he has to eat Kraft cheese and macaroni for 3 times a day because he can't make ends meet as a doctor. So that's how bad it is.
I like this Leaf Wiggers 1488 guy. Mm-hmm. I know what he means by 1488, and that's kind of funny.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get back to what I was saying. Yeah, a lot of people a lot of the same commenters going on the show, which is really nice. And then I could build your oh God, what's it called? Relations with a lot of these people, so I understand what they're talking about. And okay, let's ask this to Hiroshi, because you guys hear me talk all the time. So Hiroshi, do you think if there is a recession, if rates will go back down? I don't think rates are going to go back. They can't make rates go back down unless they put gasoline at $7 a liter. There's no way.
I don't see the rates going back down anytime soon. No.
Okay, do you see a recession going? Us going into? Are we in a recession?
We're heading towards one. I don't know if we're in one yet. It's arguable, I guess. We have really high debt versus GDP.
Yeah.
Businesses are moving out. Taxes are up, so businesses are moving to the States and stuff. So Canadian dollar is weak. I don't know. It doesn't seem very good to me. I see it getting worse. So
interesting. So he doesn't see it. Okay.
Hiroshi Foods.
Yeah, that's a place in Texas.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to this article here. So, guys, I'm going to read a couple of headlines. Vancouver single-family home sales see weakest April in decades. And how long? Only 170 detached homes sold. 30 years. It hasn't been this low. Look at that. So these typical houses that you're seeing here on your screen, these are like $2-3 million houses, guys. Don't make me pull up what you could buy in Florida for $2-3 million. Did you see that video I did with the plane and everything? And it's cheaper. Okay, let's move on. 3,700. So what in your people that are watching this in replay, because I have thousands of people watch my show in replay, comment below what is considered affordable housing in your area. I'd like to know. Just put your city down. I got somebody from Orange County saying it was about $2,100 for a 1-bedroom. I had one person saying he's renting a 2-bedroom in Beverly Hills and he's paying $4,300. So I'd like to know what in your area is considered affordable housing. Let's move on. Four Seasons Hotel in Vancouver closes in 2020. I can't believe this. I mean, can't they sell the damn thing? The closing, it's for good in 2020. So they're not going into specifics. They're not going into financing. They're not going into everything. Could it be that the property taxes? Could it be? Comment below in the comments.
Well, it's just not profitable.
It's not profitable.
If it is profitable, they wouldn't shut down, right? So they're not making money. They're probably hemorrhaging money. Taxes and all that. Not enough people want to spend a lot of money to stay in Vancouver in hotels.
That's correct.
Part of it might be because of Airbnb and that sort of thing. And just the fact that, I don't know, Vancouver just is maybe not as good as it used to be. So less people coming, right? I don't know. But there's a reason for it, right? They're not making money. If they were making money, they would stay. So,
anyways, so people are posting people's addresses on there. Oh my God! And let's keep going here. So, okay, so that's why profitable. But you know, payroll. You know, okay, you know when I have payroll for my employees, it's very expensive. because I have to pay the CPP, the IUI on my end. Then they deduct it off their pay, but I still have to pay. Like, I still have to make it up. It's very expensive. When you have 10 employees, you're looking at about $2,600 a month in CPP. You have 20 employees, you're looking at about $5,000. 30 employees, because you have to pay. You get this, right? So it gets very. So to run a Four Seasons that big, you need a minimum 30 people on staff at least. You need a repairman. You need 2 janitors. You need 6 cleaning people. At least 6 cleaners. That's a lot of rooms, right? And 3-bedroom house where my son lives in a nice area, Red Bluff, California, advertised for $1,250 a month. That's not bad for a 3-bedroom house in Red Bluff, California. Is Red Bluff close to the Farmington district? I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I can't remember where it is. It's in the LA County area, is what I ask. It's Conroe, Texas. All right, let's move on. Move over Toronto. Ottawa is Canada's new hot housing market. Oh, yeah. Everyone's moving north to Ottawa. Okay, Napa Valley Townhouse, $1,600 average rent in Napa Valley, California.
Okay.
It's in the comments there.
You ever been to Ottawa, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Ottawa is so freaking cold, man.
Yeah, it gets to minus 40, minus 50 on very regular basis.
It hurts your skin.
Yeah.
Can't even breathe, easily.
So everyone's commenting here. $1,450 for a crappy 1-bedroom in Brampton, Ontario. No, it's far from... Oh, it's in Northern California. Red Bluff District. Okay. And Ottawa has gang shootings problems too, apparently. In the comments he's saying that too, but it's actually, I heard about this too from other sources. Move over Ottawa. So what's going on here? I gotta see some numbers. What are percentages here? Okay. Some of that has to do with being fewer foreign buyers in Toronto these days in the wake of the province's fair housing plan to introduce in April 2017, which slapped a 15% foreign buyers tax on properties in the Greater Toronto and Golden Horseshoe areas. But the share of foreign buyers is on the rise in Ottawa, RBC noted. So a lot of the foreign investors are moving now to Ottawa. I think they're cashing out in Toronto, I guess, in Vancouver, where they can, and they're picking up in Ottawa. Opposite trends in the GTA to Ottawa. Okay, so here you go. Greater Toronto area. What? Holy crap, look at that. To February 16, 2018. Guys, look at my mouse where we're shaking it. Look. What? The trends are reversing. So it's going from Toronto's... the sales in Toronto are going down, where Ottawa's starting to pick up a little bit of steam.
Marginal, though.
Marginal.
2.1, 2.2, 2.5. That's not even really a...
Borderline, right?
That's within, statistical, what is it? It doesn't really mean anything. That's too small.
Well, but if you look at from 2017 to 2018...
Well, Toronto's going down is clear, right?
Yeah, clear as day. We're going to wait till next quarter and see what happens with that. So people living in Ottawa, woo! Did the tax send foreign buyers to Ottawa's way? It's hard to know, RBC senior economist wrote. That being said, it may well be the case that of overall fair housing plan ended up diverting a number of foreign buyers toward the nation's capital. Remember what happened when the foreign buyers tax came in Vancouver? Half the people went to Toronto, investors. There was a lot of firms bringing people in and bringing out literature, showing people what's available to buy to invest. They moved over. And then half the investors went to Seattle. And the ones that went to Seattle, Hiroshi, are filthy rich on paper. Seattle's housing market's been going up $20,000 a month. Since 18 months ago when that tax was implemented in Vancouver, everybody went south to Seattle. The investors. It's been so big in Seattle. I got a Seattle story coming up, and how housing prices, and they're trying to blame it on the tech industry. Bull. Trickle down. Well,
maybe people are moving to Toronto because that's the only place you can get a decent job, is working for the government, because they're screwing up all the businesses and small businesses, and the private businesses are, getting the blunt end of the shaft, right? So. And
a lot of people also move to. A lot of people work at RBC too. I noticed when. I think there was a joke going around. It's a government job is a good job to get to learn how to speak English. Someone was telling me the other day. I'm like, what? Oh, I know what you mean. Because a lot of people are learning, which is good. It's good to learn. Aerial view of Ottawa City Hall surrounded by residential neighborhoods. So the average house in Ottawa was roughly what? 177,000 benchmark price to 225 for a decent place. What? Ottawa's housing market heated up. Existing home sales were up 12.3% in March, according to the Ottawa Real Estate Board, and prices were up 8% on average. 447,000? Wow. And it's seen more desirable neighborhoods seeing a much stronger price growth. Realtors say trendy Westboro has prices spike as much as 50%. That's 50% hike in 3 months is huge, buddy. That's huge. That's 50% on your investment.
Mm-hmm. Well, as much as, so that's not the average, right?
Well, I'm saying, but that's, I mean, even if you get 25, that's enormous. So that's that. Let's move on. New home buyers getting squeezed out of Toronto market as government fees on new builds skyrocket. Let's listen to this.
There's questions from a page in Toronto, and today I'm taking first-time home buyers questions from across Canada. Number one, how can I stand out when there's lots of interest in one? How can I stand out when there's lots of interest in one home? One thing that I would recommend is show up in person on offer night. It makes a big difference when you can be there face-to-face with the seller. And the other thing is, write a letter with a little bit about you. Show them how much you're gonna love this home, the time you're gonna spend there, and the memories that you're gonna build there. That can make a big difference on an emotional level. Is it a good idea to borrow for a down payment and then try and pay it off quickly? What I would say is it really depends where you're getting this down payment money from. It's extremely risky to use a line of credit for your down payment. However, if you're getting the money from family, then I would say it's a better opportunity because you know they're gonna be more lenient with you actually paying it off. Is it a mistake to leave in a finance clause when there are multiple offers? And is it appropriate to take it out versus leaving it in? So this is a great question. With a finance clause, it depends what market you're in. If you're sitting there at the table and there's multiple offers, there's a good chance they're going to take the firm offer. Before you go out and start viewing any properties, you should sit down with your mortgage broker or your bank and get pre-approved. When you're getting pre-approved, they're pre-approving you, not necessarily the property. So before offer night, send the listing to your broker and make sure that that property will be completely approved within the budget that you have. My wife is a first-time buyer, but I am not. Can she qualify for first-time home buyer benefits, and am I able to take advantage of them? So that's a tricky one. Because you are married, the government looks at you as one, so you've actually already used your first-time home buyer as one person, so unfortunately, no. What are the top 3 things new home buyers need to do before shopping for a new home? So the first one is getting pre-approved. You don't want to go out there and fall in love with a property that you might not be able to afford. Then it's looking at your carrying costs. What's it going to cost you on a monthly basis? There's your mortgage and your taxes, and if you're buying a condo, then there's going to be condominium fees. And the third one would be lifestyle. Do you want to be close to work? Do you want to be close to dog parks? What is the biggest legal mistake people make when buying a home? People assume that when they're pre-approved for mortgages, that they can buy any house they want. That's not always the case. What else I've seen is that, you know, people think they're first-time home buyers when they are not actually first-time home buyers. If you bought a property anywhere in the world, you are not considered a first-time home buyer. I'm applying for a mortgage. Should I get a variable or a fixed? One thing I'm seeing right now in my business is that a lot of people are actually going to the fixed rate because it's looking like the rates will continue to rise in Canada and they want that long-term security in their payments. So I hope I've answered most of your questions today, but I'll leave you with this if you're a first-time home buyer. Be patient. You know, it's not always going to happen on the first try when you're making an offer on a property. And I know this is easier said than done, but try not to be too emotional. I always tell people, you can like it, but you can't love it until you get it. And the third thing is just educate yourself. It's the most important financial decision you're probably gonna make in your life. Build your team. Know who's gonna help you on the real estate side, on the mortgage side, on the lawyer side. Get these amazing people around you to help you make a huge financial decision.
Mike's back on. Sorry, I had someone knocking on my door there. Block watch party. You see how people look out for each other here? You get this in Vancouver?
Probably. I don't actually own the home. I'm renting, so I don't get those.
Okay, all right. Fine.
If I owned the place, I'd get that.
So there it is. That video basically covered this entire what's going on here. Let's move on. How did housing become so expensive? Guys, go check this out. It's a really good article. It's from Seattle. Now, I want you to watch this because it has a little play button here, and it has a podcast that's 46 minutes long. And it's from today. It's from today's date. And it goes into very, very specifics. Look at Seattle. It's completely transforming. It's crazy. From San Francisco to Seattle and San Antonio, we're looking at the crisis of affordability in the country's hottest housing markets. So you guys know that, so this is a radio podcast. There's nothing here to read. I want you guys to listen to this. It's by On Point. And you guys know what's been happening in Seattle easily by watching my show. You know what's happening in Seattle in depth over the last year and a half watching the show. Southern California home prices see a 6 to 9% gains in March. 6 to 9% in March! Not in the last year of March till now. That's huge. Are people... Okay, now Hiroshi is an expert on this. Are people getting 6 to 9% increases in pay at work in March?
I don't think so.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
I don't know. Tell me. I don't understand. 6 to 9% gains in a month. That's huge. If it's $100,000, your house went up $9,000.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, man. It's going up. I mean, like, the economy is in the whole Western economy, American economy. In my opinion, it's like a zombie economy because they have so much money from the government, right? Like they just passed the bill for the biggest budget ever, like 1.3 trillion or something. It's never been that high. They're just printing money. So, I mean, that's just causing everything to go up, right? Inflation. Mm-hmm. So even anything that's like tangible value, like property, people need to live somewhere, right? Food, gas, all that stuff that's like basic necessities. When you increase the money supply, right? It doesn't create more of those things, so you have more dollars out there and the same number of things. So those things then also go up in value and go up in price. But yeah, so like it's just the way the economy is with the government printing and going more into debt. But that's not sustainable, right? Like I think we're on the precipice of like a major crash again, like 2008. But I'm not an expert by any means. It's just how I feel about it.
So guys, you guys need to understand that neither one of us are experts, and we're not licensed and brainwashed to give you, buy this $2.4 million house, it's going to keep going up advice. We can't do that. So we're just discussing. So Hiroshi, you know what's going on right now. So let's look at a world standpoint. What do you see happening in China with the new emperor? How is this going to affect China's economy, and do you think this will affect the global economy? Now, with China signing in a new emperor, sworn himself in as emperor now, what's going to happen now? Without having... I know it's communist, but what is going to happen? Tell us what in your experience.
What's going to happen? In what way? Like, what's going to happen to China? Or
what will happen to China in an economic standpoint?
Well, China's still the number one holder of U.S. Treasury bonds, right?
Okay.
And U.S. has also the highest holdings of Chinese Treasury bonds. So they hold each other's bonds. So they're kind of like a reciprocal relationship, right? So if one goes down, the other goes down. The other one goes up, the other goes up.
Kind of like a Mexican standoff.
Yeah. So they can't they can't just sell off all their bonds because that would crash the U.S. dollar, but they can't just do that. What they can do is they can pass it on to someone else at a discount, which they've been kind of doing. And but from what I've heard, and I don't have any articles in front of me this second, but like they're trying to create their own trade agreements and their own currency, I think, even between like Russia and China.
That's the new Chinese petrodollar.
Right. So
the yuan petrodollar.
I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's definitely going to destroy the U.S. dollar. And if the U.S. dollar goes down, then Canada goes down, right? You know what's also scary is Canada has no gold. I put an article about that on Facebook a while ago.
Yeah, I read that article. He's my friend on Facebook too, by the way. So tell us about that. What's going on with that?
Yeah, they sold all the gold. We used to have a bunch of gold. Now we don't, right? So I mean, it's not like none of the currencies, U.S. dollar included, are backed by gold, but at least the banks having some gold puts some basis, or at least some mitigate some of the risk, right?
And hedges against inflation too.
Right. So, yeah, man. I would like to see the Bank of Canada get nationalized so that the government at least doesn't have to pay interest towards its own borrowings, right? Because that's not the case right now. They have to pay interest to money that they borrow for themselves, which is like...
That's what the U.S. Federal Reserve is doing too.
Right. So how does that help Canada? It doesn't. It shouldn't be that way, right? So
now what do you see now that China is in this predicament now? What's happening in the Middle East in your eyes? You were talking about this earlier. It's a big deal.
What's happening in the Middle East?
Oh, go ahead. Take your time.
A lot of things are happening in the Middle East.
Well, let's start with the Yemenis war.
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia is killing Yemenis, and they barely talk about that in the news at all, but that's happening all the time. Canada is inadvertently or maybe purposefully supporting Saudi Arabia in more ways than one. So we're actually, partially responsible for that. What else? Recently that thing by Netanyahu, he put that video up. You hear about that? It's like about Iran, saying that Iran lied about their nuclear program or something, and they're trying to make a case against Iran.
Oh my God, he's doing that again? Remember when he was on stage with this little fake bomb-looking thing and drawing the red and showing where the... Remember that? And he was coloring in the red, showing where they're at right now.
The presentation's on YouTube, I think, and it's like the biggest joke ever. It's like worse than what an average high schooler would do. Like, it's so bad. Like... Basically, if he told me it was raining, I would go outside and check. That's how little I trust that guy.
Yeah.
But to be honest, though, Iran probably did lie. But like, my question is, so
But
what?
who doesn't lie? Which administration doesn't lie?
Every country lies, man. Trudeau lies like 10 times a second, man. The guy's lying so much.
Mm-hmm.
Every country lies. So I don't know what the problem is. What it is that they've been trying to get a case against the military conflict against Iran for the longest time, right? That's been part of the plan for taking out the Middle East. So, whatever bullshit reason, they're just trying to make reasons. That's what I think.
Yeah. So, okay, now let's move over to what's happening with Trumplandia. What's happening in the United States that you know of?
What's happening in the U.S.?
What are you up to speed
well,
with?
South Korea...
Besides Donald Trump meeting with some hooker way back in the day, I'm talking about, like, real stuff.
Okay. Oh, well, the last big news thing was about the Korea peace thing, right?
Yeah, Korea peace.
And then Trump was largely instrumental in doing that, right? And in fact, South Korea's prime minister, I don't know what his name is, but he said himself, like, this is, thanks to Trump or whatever. And the media is, like, not even really talking about that either because it makes Trump look good. Because the media is controlled by, like, 5 companies and they all hate Trump because he's not a total globalist, even though Trump's not perfect, but he's, like, actually trying to do things in the interest of America, and they hate that, right? They want to sell out America, so... Yeah, so he did that. Other than that, I don't know. Recent news of Trump.
No, nothing in Trumplandia. Okay, so let's move up to Canada. Now, there's lots in Canada, Hiroshi. So, what do you want to talk about? What's going on globally in Canada?
What's happening globally in
Not
Canada?
globally, within the region. What's going on in Canada? What's concerning you the most about the country? You're telling me upstairs. What was it? You want to leave Canada as a whole. Why?
Yeah, because I just don't think, like, our debt's getting worse and worse. And Trudeau, like, is horrible, and he's sinking Canada. And we have, like, so many. He's taking in tens of thousands of these refugees through Quebec. Remember, I showed you that video, like, illegally, and all these people are coming in, and they're mostly taking social assistance. But at the same time, our economy is constricting. We're having businesses leave because it's not profitable to have a business. So you're getting less businesses and more tax burden and higher debt, and Canadian dollar is weaker. And it's just getting worse and worse. Like, how's that turning around? I don't see anything indicating that this is going to turn around next year or whatever. So
that's the thing. I'm not seeing that glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, or the glimmer of light, the star in the sky to follow.
Where is the turning point? There is no turning point. I don't see a turning point. And also, I don't like Scheer very much either. He's a conservative leader, and he's
who's
like
Scheer?
Scheer, S-C-H-E-E-R. He's the leader of the Conservative Party. And right now, polls say that, like, he's most likely to get elected if there's an election tomorrow, because it's like 20% would vote Liberals, or 25%, and it's like 40% Conservative, and then it's like 15% NDP, and then everyone's else like 5% or whatever. So, I mean, it looks like he might get elected, but he's actually kind of socialist too. Like, he's not really that much better. He's like Liberals light, basically. He's like Liberals 2.0. So maybe slightly better in some ways, but not really that better.
Interesting. Would you ever move back to Japan?
Well, what do you mean move back? I didn't come from there.
You're Japanese.
Yeah, and you're Portuguese. You come from Portugal? When are you moving back to Portugal?
Probably when I retire. I'm a citizen.
Okay. I'm technically a citizen too, I guess.
Of Japan, yeah.
But I have no plan to go there, man.
No. If you had a choice to, if you were offered a job in Japan, would you go?
Depends on the job and other things, but probably not.
You're better off living in Japan than Canada.
Dude, I like Canada better, but I will leave Canada if I can't, raise a family here. I'll have no choice, right? If my only option is to go somewhere else to have a reasonable lifestyle, then I will. So it just depends on what the options are and, what's better.
I guess if you were maybe 10 years younger, you'd probably move to Japan.
Probably not.
No?
Why?
Because it's a younger... I just see Japan's
as like really...
animation and Gundams.
That's not really what I care about, though. Like,
come on!
They have high incomes in Japan, but their tax rate's super high, too. So it's like, not necessarily going to be richer because you're in Japan.
Oh, I'm not talking about richer. Happier.
Will you be happier, though? Like, I don't know if you're happier there, man. Like, Japan, people aren't having kids. It's crowded. Pollution's worse. They have hurricanes, and it's super hot in the summer. Mm-hmm. Gas is even more expensive there than here, I think.
Yeah, but you don't have to drive 1,000,000 miles to get to where you're going in
True,
Japan.
but I don't like trains. I don't like sitting next to sweaty businessmen and, like, crowded trains and stuff. I'm not big on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Canada. I like space.
Okay. Fair enough. Would you move to the U.S. if you were offered a job down there?
Probably yes.
Yeah. If you could go down if you go down to Florida or something.
Well, yeah, I'm actually trying to... My company does have the opportunity...
In Houston?
Not necessarily Houston, but, like, yeah, in Texas or other like the company I work for is operating in the U.S. all over, so... once I build my business up a little bit more and get maybe another promotion, I have the option to move there, and I might. That's been something I've been thinking about down the road.
Yeah. That's actually a good idea.
Because they'll pay for my working visa and stuff.
That's fantastic.
But I have to be a certain
rank
basically. Yeah.
So someone says, "LOL. I finally someone with a realistic opinion on Japan."
And they're all weird, like, they're all sexually repressed, and they're all, like, into, like, weird anime blow-up dolls, and they're all, like,
Is it true that they wear diapers and shit their pants?
I don't know about that, but they, like,
okay,
they're really,
I heard that.
They're into weird sexual stuff that I'm not big on, and, like, anime, and, like, all this weird stuff, and, I don't know, they're just, like, culturally kind of messed up. I think ever since, like, they were cool until nukes fell on them, and then after nukes fell on them, they became, like sissy men, basically, because they're
sissy men.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, we can't, we're not the strongest in the world anymore, so we're gonna, like, become little, like, peons and, like, just.
What about bonsai? What happened to that?
No, that's all done. Like, they realize that Japan is, like, not the best, so now they all, like, are, like, subservient to the United States, and so now they all want to be like Americans because they think Americans are the best now. So they, dye their hair and try to, like, bleach their skin,
wear
and,
purple pants. I get it.
Like, eat a Western diet and, like, listen to Western music. And
so everyone's asking in the comment section, who is the guest speaker? It is Hiroshi. He's been on my channel several times. He is a 2-time world champ, and he's
I'm just an old friend of Mike's. That's all I am.
And from Vancouver.
Yeah.
And
pretty much raised.
He's been to every store I've opened. Like when my video, my documentary I put up, he's been to everyone, right?
I'm one of your longest customers. That's right.
Yeah, we've been friends for many, many years. So, okay. So now that we've discussed, Canada, what's, I want to know, I know you rent and stuff, and I don't know if you really care about buying anything right now, but what do you see the housing prices as? Like, housing itself, in general. Just never mind the pricing. In general, when you look at housing, what comes to mind first? As someone that lives in Vancouver. Like, what do you think when you see
I think it's unaffordable. So that's, it's not affordable for any regular working family.
Middle-class family.
Yeah, middle-class family. The middle class is just getting destroyed. So
why is the middle class getting destroyed?
For the reasons I told you, man. Like, the economy sucks. Mm-hmm. Like, companies are moving out. Canadian dollar's bad. Taxes are way too high. Regulations way too high. It's part of the reason why housing is up, because there's, like, to build a house, you have to make sure it passes the regulatory requirements, and that costs that adds, like, 10% or 20% or whatever to the cost of it. Mm-hmm. All these basically middlemen in the government, like, raise the cost, and then, like, Yeah, so it's just not affordable. Economy's not good. That's why I think U.S. would be better. If I get an opportunity to have like a good situation in the U.S., I'd probably take it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I tried applying for U.S. citizenship. I was going to open a big company down there, and they said no. So I opened a company in Canada that thrived and did well and hired people.
Population dying off. It's true. Japan's population is dying off. People aren't getting married. People aren't having sex. They have to like run propaganda in the news and in media to like try to get people to have sex because nobody's having sex.
You know what I heard? I heard, Hiroshi, is that I saw a documentary a night or two ago about single women, 40-year-old single women in Japan.
Yeah, there's tons of single people. It's like a really weird antisocial situation. That's why I don't really want to live there.
So if you're single man and you're looking for a woman and you like exotic women, go to Japan.
But it's very hard to go to Japan if you're not Japanese. They're 99% ethno-Japanese, right? Like, they have basically all Japanese there, and they don't easily take in people. Like, they don't take in, immigration very much. So how are you going to live there? You have to, like, find someone to marry, and then, like, even then, you got to go through all these hoops and stuff. Mm-hmm. Plus, if you don't speak the language, like... Also, Japanese are very, I would say, not overtly, but they're more, like secretly very prejudiced in the sense that they don't open up to you if you're not Japanese very much, even though they will be polite and stuff, but they're not. It's like very hard to be accepted as like one of them, even if you live there for a long time. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how. The same thing in China though. China's like that too. Asian countries are just like that in general.
So even if but the Portuguese explorers, when they were there for 300 years, and a lot of the women took to them. I was reading something about that the other day when the Portuguese explorers went to Japan. The Portuguese were the first to fly a dragon on their something on their that represents Japanese culture on their flag, and then some of our words are bonded with Japanese too. It's mm-hmm. It's
true. Yeah.
It's true. And the Portuguese were there in Nagasaki. They had a fort there for until like 1890, and they gave it up. I guess they gave it back to Japan. But
when the shogun shut down Japan for a very long time, mm-hmm. The only country they were accepting trade from for the longest time was Portugal. There was like one port mm-hmm. where like people from Portugal. So all the Western influence for the longest time was only from stuff they got from Portuguese.
The Portuguese, that's correct.
And they brought books, they brought
everything,
food,
everything. Silks, stuff from India, stuff from Africa, right?
Yeah.
Gold, silver.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, so...
and also, like, Christianity has an interesting history in Japan, too. So, basically, through the Portuguese they had missionaries and stuff come in, too, and they tried to spread Christianity, and Christianity did start to grow, but then the government shut it down, and they said it was, like, you can't be Christian, and they burned, like, take down churches, you can't show crosses, like, they had a big thing like that. A lot of people don't know about that. That happened. So you had these Japanese people that believed in Christianity, but they weren't allowed to
practice it
at all. And so even now it's kind of like that. Like, it's frowned on and stuff. Like, you can't have overt Christian stuff. Culturally, even though legally I think it's fine, but it used to be legally bad though. You couldn't do it legally either.
Really?
So there was like these secret Christians, they call them. They're like hidden Christians. Go look on Wikipedia. There's a whole thing.
I believe you. Yeah, because I remember a lot of Portuguese missionaries went there in the 1500s to 1600s. They built some of the original churches in the northern part of Japan. They're still there, like they're monuments. They don't. No one touches them. They're like, some of them have been refurbished. I know some of the cannon walls that they built there to for people coming to port are still there.
Yeah, so Japan can't militarize because of the agreements made after World War II.
But they have been remilitarized recently.
But only for defensive purposes, right? So they can only have a defensive force. They can't have a force that's like...
Or is it to create more military contracts?
They're only allowed to defend their own country, their own land. And also they're covered in U.S. bases too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of Japanese people hate that.
Yeah, I saw that protesting in Japan on the streets, flooded with banners saying, "Hey, U.S. base is out."
Yeah,
and they're doing that in Brazil too.
Yeah, well, the U.S. bases have been pissing off Japanese, like the locals in Japan, for decades. So, I mean, there's all those stories about them, like getting drunk and like abusing women, or like running over some Japanese like child or something, like stuff like that, and then like not being held to to the same standards as the Japanese because they different laws and stuff because they're on base land or whatever. I don't know. It's just like a lot of stuff that's pissed off Japanese for many years.
Mm-hmm. Someone's saying here, Van City saying Japan was always far right. Is that true?
I don't know about that. They almost went communist, but then the communist leader got killed. There's a famous thing about that. The guys went right up to him and stabbed him in the middle of everyone, like some socialist leader or something. And
okay.
There was actually a growing socialism movement in Japan, but then they literally just killed the guy.
So they said no more.
Which so yeah, I don't really know. There's democratic something or other, but they're high tax. I don't know. They're not really right wing for taxes are that high. Right? Right wing is supposed to be like economically free. They're not really that economically free, from what I know.
Mm-hmm. Then someone says, ask Italy and Germany if they are far right. They're left. Well, not Italy anymore.
Well,
not with the new president.
Germany's been, taken over by Merkel, and Merkel is basically, closet commie. So they're pretty left, if you ask me. Now.
Someone say. What's to say here? But JP is insane. Who's JP?
Jordan Peterson, probably.
Jordan Peterson? Justin Jordan Peterson.
No, it's probably Jordan Peterson. Or Japan. But JP could be Japan. JPN is usually Japan, though, so I'm not too sure what JP is.
Right in my hood. Italy's now a far-right country. Yeah, Italy's new president. Do you remember that? Voted in a few months back? He's basically anti-immigration and closed borders.
Yeah, well, it's because it's a reaction to what the EU is imposing on all of Europe by forcing them to take in X number of refugees, and basically the Italian people don't want what the EU is pushing on them. So it's just basically a nationalistic movement. It's a reactionary force to what's going on, right? So it's the same shit Mussolini did, but.
Mussolini was extremely fascist. Mussolini he built his he only got elected because he promised jobs. Italy was very, very underemployed at the time. Unemployment rate in Italy was about 40% at that time, and it was really bad. And they needed to figure something out. So so what it is I see it the pattern. Everyone puts up with the crap for so long, then they elect somebody in, like Hitler was elected. Right? Goes into power, and then, boom, the poop hits the fan, and everything restarts, and then they hire someone back for the left side, and then they put up with the crap for another 40 years, and then, boom, it restarts. Well, do you see what I'm saying? It's only so far Canadians could go until the Canadians start pushing back and voting in people that are going to make a difference to bring Canada back to what it was.
Right. Well, Canada's so fragmented. Like, the West is just has always been, like, getting shit on by the East. Like, Ottawa's never cared about BC. When has Ottawa ever looked out for BC interest? Like, never, basically. Just like maybe a month before election. Like,
oh, it's like when elections are up, you see a lot of police cars on the street to make it look like they're doing their.
Why don't you show everyone the interprovincial tax? Here, I'll send you the link.
Here, type it in right here. We're gonna go look at some. So people living in Canada. So
well,
let me look at some articles here while you look it up.
You can see just how badly the West is getting screwed and has been for a long time.
So gains in Southern California. So in New Zealand, in Australia, home loans are going to be tougher to get, just so you guys know. So if you need a home loan in Australia, you are hooped. According to what this is saying. Let's get this playing here for a while Hiroshi finds... We are back. Sorry about that. Hiroshi is basically finding the article he wants to show us.
Cambridge Analytica, the firm at the center of the Facebook data scandal.
Oh, it's Facebook data. Nobody cares. Okay, so go ahead, Hiroshi. Find us the article you are looking for, and I will continue to aimlessly talk about troubled numbers, refinance loans, doubles. Here you go. There you go. So the numbers of struggling borrowers seeking mortgage refinance has doubled more than 30% as lenders increase rates and fees, toughen scrutiny of borrower income and expenses. So according to the new analysts, the new analysis is showing that a lot of people are trying to get back in or refinance because they can't afford their initial payments. And this is what's happening in Australia. And Australia has been seeing enormous amount of problems right now amidst this decline in housing prices and the rates going up. I got another article here I'm going to share with you guys. So mortgage brokers who act on intermediaries, sorry I can't read, remember, between lenders and borrowers claim lenders throttle back, aimed increasingly pressure from regulators and fear exposure by the Hayne Royal Commission. So this new Royal Commission came into Australia. I don't know if you guys know about this, and this is something that should have been put into place in the 1800s, not now. This is something that should have been in place to protect the people from what's happening in is that it?
I think so. That's one of the graphics. You can just show both of these. Go to the images here. There's this one.
Okay, let's go back to what we're talking about here. So let's head back to Canada real quick, folks, here. So we're looking at this. And what are we looking at here, Hiroshi?
So it's called Provincial Equalization payments, which basically is just like some sort of agreement to take money from provinces that are economically prosperous and give it to provinces that are not prosperous.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I lived in Mexico for 2 years.
It's basically like provincial, like province-wide welfare.
Let me tell you this. It's the same. This is what's happened in Mexico. I lived in Mexico for 2 years, okay? And in Mexico, I asked them where's the taxes go? So the guy was explaining to me how it works. Every state in Mexico, there's a specific tax on everything that goes to the capital city. And then from the capital city, Mexico City, they decide which states get more money and more funding for sidewalks, roads, and developments. So is this what we're looking at here?
Kind of, yeah, basically. So
okay, so
if you look at it,
okay.
like, BC is getting screwed the most. They're paying out way more. And if you look like Quebec and Ontario, especially Quebec, they're taking all the money from the other provinces, right? So basically the entire province of Quebec is on welfare. That's the way I look at it.
So the province itself, you mean as a whole?
Well, they're a net taker. Look at the numbers. They're taking 50% of all of it, right?
Okay, let me open this for you guys as big as possible. So maybe there it is. Yeah. Okay.
So this is the reason why I'm actually pro separation. I think Quebec should separate.
Yeah.
Look at them. They're taking almost 200 billion. I don't know how recent this is. It's probably more than that. So they're just taking money and they're not giving any money. So why do we have them? What's the point of them?
That's harsh, dude.
What's the point? Why can't they just be country of Quebec? Why not? That's what they wanted before, isn't it? Let them have it.
BC's getting nothing.
Yeah.
Holy smokeroos! That's why our highways are old, infrastructure's falling apart.
Look at the other image. How it's changed. Where is it here?
Yeah.
So this is showing it by year, right? Let me just open this up here.
Yeah, that's fine. Go down. It's the Fraser Forum. Let's go down and find this image.
This one.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here?
This is up to date. So green represents 2014, right? So look how Quebec is just skyrocketing, right? Ontario's getting up there too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, see, Ontario was actually just flat, but now ever since 2014, now they're taking billions and billions. So you got Ontario and Quebec that are just taking all the money. And you got the...
BC gets nothing.
BC gets nothing. No, see, the ones that have nothing here are the ones that are paying it. So Alberta's paying it, BC's paying it. So those are the ones that are actually, prosperous people doing things that are economically good. But then you have these like basically parasites, right? The parasites are taking all the money. So you have Eastern Canada, you got New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Quebec, and Ontario. They're just taking, right, and not giving. So
Alberta and BC is basically carrying the rest of Canada.
So they've basically enslaved Western Canada, right? They're like taking their money, they don't get anything for it. So this is why I think Western Canada should separate. There's actually a movement. It's called, I think it's the Cascadia. It's called
the Cascadia movement.
Have you heard of it? Look up Cascadia.
Look it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, just tuning in, we got Hiroshi here. And all this stuff goes back to housing. Everything he's talking about here, whether other provinces are supporting other provinces in a welfare state way.
Just look up Cascadia, independent Cascadia. There we go. It's been around for a long time, though, and never gets any momentum, unfortunately. I think it's this thing for, like, Western provinces plus Washington and, like, to make their own country or something. This is their flag. But, yeah, I mean, it's just basically a fantasy. There's just not enough people that understand why it's good. Anyone that sees the numbers will realize Western Canada is getting screwed, and has always been getting screwed. They don't have enough representation in electoral votes in federal elections, so we never get BC prime ministers or anything. There's just nothing good about being part of like Canada in my mind.
Yeah, did BC ever have a prime minister?
I don't think we've ever had a prime minister, no. I mean, technically, Justin Trudeau, I think he was in like BC for a while. I'm not sure if he was born there, but most of his life was in Quebec. He's a Quebec supremacist, basically.
Okay. And what about Alberta?
Yeah, we've had Albertan prime ministers before.
Okay. And Saskatoon?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think where the prime minister comes from. It has maybe some merit, but not a lot. I think because all the two parties, only two parties in Canada, the Conservatives and the Liberals, right? No one's ever won before. That's not from them. And they all are controlled by the big interests, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, does it really matter that much? Maybe a little bit, but not a lot.
So, you see what's happening. So, see what's happening here with money being transferred within the country and other provinces carrying. So, BC and Alberta is basically carrying the rest of... And the other one, and up to Manitoba, basically, is carrying the rest of Canada. Holy smokeroos! Look at New Brunswick too. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. PEI gets it's peanuts, but still more than what BC gets.
You know, well, that's why like the system is so garbage, because the ones in the East are gonna vote to rob the ones in the West every time, right? It's like, oh, you know, that's just the nature. Like 51% can vote to rob the 49%. That's just how democracy works.
That's horrible.
And the 49% can never stop the 51% from being, you know, their bitch, basically.
No, we can't. So let's go back to where we were. Okay, guys, if you're just tuning into the show, listen to this podcast. It's How Did Housing Become So Expensive? This is in Seattle. It's kind of a blueprint of what's going to happen in the rest of America. I promise you that. And then here, Southern California home prices 6 to 9. I covered that. And I want to actually show this to you guys because it's severely disturbing. And I need to know what you guys think about this. This actually kind of threw me back a bit. The California housing crisis is so out of whack, and this never been seen before. So here goes.
New at 5, we have shocking video of what's going on in one of the busiest BART stations in the Bay Area. Several junkies blatantly shooting up out in the open, others slumped along the corridors. This is San Francisco Civic Center station. We sent KPIX5's Wilson Walker to ask the mayor and BART, what are you doing about all of this?
Open IV drug use, unconscious men and women, piles of vomit on either side of the hallways. This is a morning walk through the Civic Center BART and Muni station.
And one morning, I got to pull out the camera. I got to show my friends this. They're not going to believe it.
And over the course of a week, Shannon Gafford documented his trip to work. You may find the video shocking. You may find it routine.
Every day, every morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I mean, you can see there's dozens of them. And needles everywhere, crack, heroin.
It's a real concern for our riders, and we appreciate that. What we have to do is make the most of the resources, the limited resources that we have.
Hey guys, we need to clear the stairs!
BART, which has been pledging to address these problems, says it's recruiting more community service officers, more than 30 new sworn officers, and 20 new station cleaners. But will that be enough?
The situation on our BART stations is simply unacceptable. Border's disastrous.
San Francisco Mayor Mark Farrell, who today unveiled a $13 million plan to get needles, among other things, off of city streets. But the city's jurisdiction ends when you head down those BART stairs.
I don't care at the end of the day if now we have jurisdictional issues. As mayor, I want to get something done, and I want to make sure that these BART stations are cleaned up.
Now, while homeless services are offered to those in the city's BART stations, the mayor says San Francisco police may be needed because BART admits it is simply overwhelmed by the crisis that has landed in its hallways.
We're in the midst of a national homelessness crisis, and we're also in the middle of a national drug crisis. And unfortunately, as a transit agency, we have limited resources, and we're not really equipped to deal with these social issues.
So this, for now, is the status quo, a daily commute through a human crisis that shows no end.
You do. You feel bad for these people in a way. I mean, because you are human and you see them. This isn't going anywhere, it looks like. It's just getting worse.
In San Francisco, Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.
Okay, guys, so that's that. I wanted to show that to you guys. That was sent to me. There's a lot of tent cities over in California, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. We'll talk about tent cities in another show. I got a lot of footage someone sent me on tent cities riding their bike or their GoPro. It's phenomenal. So let's move on here. We will talk about Victoria, the island, in a few seconds here. I just want to touch about home loans getting tougher to get. So if the Australian middle class is not buying the homes, you're going to have a housing disaster. We've been talking about Australia for months now. The problem with Australia is the borrowing limits are going down. They're being more scrutinized when it comes to income levels because the banks have put a lot of garbage on the books. They cook the books. And when you cook the books, guess what happens? It comes back and bites you in the butt. So this is what's happening in Australia right now. We went to this article. Sorry. Number of troubled households seeking refinancing loans doubles. Do you know what this means, people? People are falling behind on their payments, or they're close to going bankrupt, and they need to refinance for a lower payment and stretch their term out to 1,000,000 years because they could barely... So refinancing is going up because people can't afford either their payments, or they're starting to realize that interest rates are going to start going up, or whatever it is. It's not good. When you need to refinance your house, it's not a good thing. You know, if you're refinancing for a lower rate and better competitive rate, I get it. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it for something else, and I have a feeling that it has to do with a lot of the loans. There's a very long... right here. I'll get to the point right here. There are estimated 550,000 households. That's not 5,000. 550,000 seeking to refinance in the next 3 years, an increase from 480,000 last year. DFA analysis revealed on nearly 1 in 3 are having difficulty finding alternative finance, and it's getting bad. Property investors will contribute to loan growth falling from 6 to 4% despite household debt rising. So your debts, so you're going to be owing more than what you're worth. Is what's happening right now in Australia. In Australian proper, Hiroshi, I don't know if you watch how much you watch my show, but Australia proper is huge. People have to drive 2 hours to get to work. Police officers, doctors, lawyers cannot afford to live in Sydney. They have to travel incredible amount of distances to get to work, and it's phenomenal. And then Steve the Plumber is commenting there. Huge changes happening in the GTA. We'll have him on the show next week, Steve the Plumber. We'll have you on next Wednesday. I promise we'll book you in next Wednesday. And let's move on to here. Okay, this is the article I brought up at the beginning. So the Royal Bank of Australia... this is what they're saying in the article. Can't lift rates while house prices are falling. That's a disaster. If they raise interest rates, your payments start going up when you refinance. If you're not locked in, if you're on a variable rate, and then the prices of the houses are falling on top of that. That's a recipe for it's like...
Well, that's what's going to result in foreclosures and bankruptcies, right?
Yeah.
Why would you continue paying for something that's going to
worth
less than what you're buying, right? You might as well just go bankrupt. You effectively are bankrupt in that case. You're already negative money in that, right? You're losing out on that deal.
And a lot of people... Okay, let me ask you this. You brought this up before, Hiroshi. I think we were driving somewhere. There's something you brought up.
What?
This is the question I'm going to ask. You brought this up, and I'm going to ask you to rediscuss it.
What is it?
Are the baby boomers to blame for today's whatever is happening, in your opinion? This is your opinion.
Are they to blame personally? No, not really.
Okay. So are they working longer? You were talking about this. We got into a huge discussion about this. We're driving somewhere and you're talking about...
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, talk.
Well, you're talking about like the... Okay, so baby boomers are all retired, right?
Mm-hmm. Or retiring, or working longer than they should.
Working longer. But the problem is that... well, it's not really the baby boomers' fault, though, because like the birth rates fell after them, right? So what's happening is that we have this Ponzi scheme in Canada called CPP. And CPP guarantees a certain amount of money to pay it out to people after 65. And we have all these people that are over 65 that are now collecting, but we don't have a big enough tax base to adequately fund them. So that's why the government is frantically trying to like do something about that, right? So they can't convince people that are already financially not well off to have kids, because that's kind of the reason why Western countries aren't having kids, is because there's not enough economic prosperity. So their solution then is to import like tens of thousands of people from the third world that bring in like 6 kids, 7 kids or whatever, and that's supposed to like be a new tax base or something, right? So the idea is to everybody's going to be minimum wage and they're going to get the money from there, I guess. That's their plan, right?
So I'm still not getting it, but if these people are not getting jobs, or they're not designed to, or they don't know the Canadian way, I mean, talk. What's going on? So what's going to happen now?
Well, like CPP is like the worst thing ever, basically. And
you said it was like organized crime.
It is. It's a scam. Like if anybody like told you what you would pay for CPP and what you get back, nobody would ever agree to it. Nobody would ever agree to it. But we have it anyway, right? So it's just like this horrible thing, CPP. And the baby boomers are actually gonna, they're the ones that profit from it because they get more than they put in. But then the people like that are, born in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, they're gonna get less than they put in. They're gonna get like 2/3 for every dollar they put in, is how the calculation is. So it's just like the worst deal.
It is the worst deal. It is the worst deal. It's horrible.
So they should just get rid of CPP, or at least allow people to opt out in favor of a private pension or a private,
RSP or
anything else.
Anything else is, anything else.
I mean, it can't get worse than CPP. Literally putting like part of your paycheck under your bed each paycheck, like put $20 under your bed every week or something. That's a better deal than CPP. So CPP just sucks.
Okay, so that was a good one. Yeah, we were talking about this for a while. I don't know where we were driving. We were going somewhere and we were talking about that. So I thought I'd bring that up because the boomers to blame. RBA, so lifting rates while prices are falling in Australia. Now, this one I wanted to bring up because I don't know if you guys remember me talking about the meth-tested homes in New Zealand and how a lot of families are being put up in hotels in Auckland and other parts outside of the surrounding area of New Zealand, how the contamination in New Zealand and the cost of people, 40 people living to a house in New Zealand, and the amount of empty homes owned by investors in New Zealand, the New Zealand passing laws now not to sell to foreign buyers. New Zealand is going through a poop show right now in their housing crisis. So let's look at this video here real quick. It's based off a true story, so let's see what it has to say here.
A new report by Massey University shows the number of Kiwi children hospitalised with asthma. The report by Massey University shows the number of Kiwi children hospitalised with asthma has almost doubled since 2002. Housing Minister Phil Twyford says children shouldn't have to suffer asthma, which is often caused by poor quality housing. He says under the new Healthy Homes Guarantee Act, any new tenanted property must be insulated or contain a heating source. All tenancies must meet the new standards by July 2024.
So that's that. I kind of wanted to show that to you guys because I know I've been talking about the meth-tested houses and everything that's happening in New Zealand with the this craziness. Let's move on. Where are you? Victoria News. Statistics show that more than 27 empty homes in Saanich. Have you been up here, Hiroshi?
Yeah.
Well, how is it up there? I don't think I've been up there, Saanich.
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time there, but I went there for work. But it's nice. It looks nice. It's right near Victoria, right, Saanich?
I think so. I've never been there. So
the whole island's very pretty, like, good weather and beaches and all that.
Mm-hmm. So it's saying here, Victoria estimated to have 7% empty homes. The highest in the capital region that averages 5.7. That is huge. And that's all investment properties too. No one just buys a family buy a house. Okay, guys, we bought the house. Let's leave it empty now and live in a hotel or in a car. You know what I'm saying? First, the numbers, according to Statistics Canada, 5.6% of Saanich homes, or 2,000 770 out of 49,000 private dwellings are not occupied by their usual residents. The category occupied buildings also include private dwellings whose usual residents are temporarily absent from the residence on Census Day on the May 10th of 2016. So, empty homes, let's go beyond Greater Victoria, but still on Vancouver Island, the share of empty homes in Nanaimo is 4.2%. Equally notable is the percent share of empty homes in communities that have already received exemptions. The larger Parksville area, the share is just over 6%, while the town of, how do you pronounce that? Qualicum Beach? Qualicum Beach has a share of 7.3%. Salt Spring Island, like other Gulf islands exempted from the tax, has shared 17.5% and with 1,029 empty homes. I would never imagine there was even 1,029 homes there, but there is. So that is what's happening there on the island. I got another one here. Where was it? This one here. Oh, God. So people watching this from Vancouver, Victoria that like the peaceful life, you're not going to like this. Apartments dominate Greater Victoria's housing starts in March. Uh-oh. So, if you like that peaceful island living, there's apartments going up. Housing starts data for March shows big gap of multi-units being built compared to single-family homes in Greater Victoria. This will up the population easily, right?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be more density living, right? And then, do Victorians want that? I don't think Victorians want more population on that little island. Do you think so?
What do Victorians want? You'd have to ask Victorians. I'm not a Victorian, but
yeah.
I mean, if you're a student who wants to go to UVic, wouldn't you like to have your own apartment? I mean, if you want to live and work there, I mean, would you want to have to buy $1 million house, or would you rather have like a $400,000 condo that you can get? Right?
Well, okay, the Don, we got the Don here in the comment section. I work in Victoria. The traffic is insane. So what's happening there, Don? The congestion is already out of control. And I know the infrastructure in Victoria is not designed to house this many people. I know it's not. Vancouver isn't either. But they still went ahead and completely condoized the whole Lower Mainland. Pretty much, right? And it says here, in Greater Victoria, construction began on 254 multiple units, including apartments, townhouses. Wow! And condominiums last month compared to 79 in March of 2017. So it's going up, Hiroshi. It's tripled. Mm-hmm. Quadrupled. For the year of the date figure, CMHC says that there has been 77% increase in multi-house units in 2018 with 560 starts compared to 317 last year. That's huge, guys. So what is... Okay, here we go.
Maybe that's where we're going to put all the refugees in.
You think so?
Could be.
Could be. So the Don's saying single lane each way over the Malhat. What's Malhat? Malahat? And traffic is already bad. So with them putting in these units, oh man, 254 multiple units. That's condos. That's everything. But is it? I know the Don's in the comment section. Is it people like Vancouverites moving over there because they can't afford to live in Vancouver?
Well, I don't really think it's a bad thing. I mean, it depends who you are. If you're somebody who bought property in Victoria with the intention of like making money off selling it or flipping it or whatever, and then the fact that they've made a bunch of apartments would then increase the supply. So potentially that could mean that the houses won't rise as much because there's more places to live, right? So, and that person might not be that happy because instead of getting, 40% return, he's only getting 20% or whatever, right? But then people that actually want to live there and grow up, have a family there and stuff, they would be happy. I think it's a good thing to have places to live, right? So, I mean, it just depends on who you are, I guess. But overall, I think it's a good thing.
Okay, I got someone in the comments section asking me, before I go there, it is $40 million residential complex planned for Nanaimo. There it is on Kennedy Street. Wow, they named a street off John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Yeah, there's lots of streets named Kennedy.
Wow, that's really good, the Kennedy family. Yeah. Here we go. So that's that there. So there's another complex going up there. This is on the Colonist for the island there in Nanaimo. That's huge. It's gonna I see investors. So someone's asking. So I got someone in the comment section that has asked me several times. Right here. Housing in Norway. Can you tell me if housing is cheap in Norway? I'm moving out of BC to go there soon. I would really appreciate it. Sorry for repeating myself. Okay. Oates, I'm going to tell you what's happening in Norway right now and what our opinion is. Okay, Hiroshi? Housing in Norway. Let's find out.
I don't know a lot about Norway.
Too bad. We're going to know right now.
Okay.
You don't know nothing about Norway? We're going to find out.
They like to eat fish there.
Yeah, they do.
They're Scandinavian.
News. Okay, prices fell. It's a good sign. Norway's Q1 prices fell 0.3%. So prices are going down right now. Lower population growth and boom in construction to help explain the fall in prices for a peak in early 2017. Let's see what they say here in other news here. This is Routers. So Routers is pretty on par. This is from a whiles back. Let me see. So Norway right now is it looks like it's in 6 housing markets in risk of another correction. So Australia's in there. Let's see if Norway's in there. Yeah, they are. So country, United States of America, GDP growth, and there goes into there, and Sweden and Norway.
You have negative GDP growth.
Yeah, negative GDP growth in Norway. So if you're moving to Norway, be careful because... tell us, in your opinion, what does negative GDP growth do?
Well, it's a shrinking economy.
I get that, but what starts to happen? Companies close, right?
Yeah.
People don't have kids. People leave the country.
Yep. It's like less tax revenue. So
right.
Less because tax revenue comes from GDP, right? They can tax production. So less production means less things to tax, means less money to pay for all the crap that they're paying for. Norway's very socialist, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So there it is. Norway is down big time. So let's just check down the negative growth. So far we know that it's got a negative growth in GDP. And let's see what else we have. Let's see what they have for housing in Norway. Everything you need to know. Okay, Oates. There's an article right here for you, buddy. Life in Norway, housing in Norway, everything you need to know about real estate in Norway, from the types of accommodation, availability to rent, through how to buy your first home. So here it is. Renting a house in Norway, this tells you more, read more. Buying a house, the completion process. Buying a house, bidding process. Buying a house, the viewing process. Buying a house, wow, look at that. I would live there, right by the ocean on the mountain there. That's freaking awesome, dude.
But as far as buying property in a country that has negative GDP growth, that doesn't sound like a very lucrative proposition to me.
Yeah, Norway. Are you marrying some? Oates, I know you're in the comment section. Are you marrying someone from Norway? Are you marrying someone? Are you going there for work? So it's good to look into the country's economic standpoint before moving there. And no, he's not. He's not. And before moving there, I know Norway has its own Craigslist, but it's in Norwegian though. It might translate through Google. Norway does have its own Craigslist. I forgot what it was called. It's a funny name, and it's in Norwegian, but it will translate through Google Translate as best as possible, right? So, anyways, guys. We are clocking in here at 1 hour and 23 minutes. I told Hiroshi the show was going to go only for an hour, and look how fast it went.
Yeah.
It went pretty fast. So, yeah, I'll have Hiroshi on the phone to call in. He's a lot less shy when he's on the phone, and he's a lot more aggressive when he's on the phone. He's like my wife. Well, my wife's tough over the phone.
I mean, I have a lot of crazy ideas, but I don't know, what your audience likes to talk about or anything. It's your show, right? So...
No, but everything economic-wise that's happening, whether it's in China, whether it's in Saudi Arabia, whether the price of oil, the price of gas, it's all going to affect the Canadian our housing. The housing is part of the market, just like anything else, right? So it's very important.
Hiroshi come to kick Bully's ass.
Woo! Woo! Oates, what countries do you think someone should go to for cheap housing? Portugal. Here, go to the Algarve. I was showing people this the other day. Algarve, Portugal homes. These are PortugalProperty.com.
It's true. Eastern Europe does have cheap housing, but it's also
Portugal's southern. It's southern Europe, very southern.
But you can't make any money in Eastern Europe, man.
This is west.
No, I'm just reading the chat.
Oh,
it's like, what are you gonna do in Eastern Europe?
So if you want cheap housing,
$5 a day or something.
Yeah, if you want cheap housing, you got to move to southern Portugal. This is like the Algarve. This is what it looks like here. You could find a nice little condominium there for about 40 to 65,000 euros, depending on what part of the city. You could get a 2-bedroom for about 109,000 euros right now. Beautiful vistas, and it's all ocean. It's all coast. It's got palm trees, and they export a lot of pineapples. You got pineapple trees growing in the wild. Lots of golf courses. There's one Portugal Living where it's affordable housing, and I mean you could pick up something for really cheap. These are all expensive. I'm just trying to see where I found a house that me and my wife were looking at, and it was 130,000 euros with a pool. It was beautiful. You don't have to spend these crazy amounts of numbers. Bedrooms, let's say 1 bedroom. Search. Here, 109,000 euros. Look, in the Algarve. 75,000 euros. Look at this one. 115,000 euros for a 1 bedroom. But this is a good area of this is Vila Moura. This is Lalu. This is Vila Real Santo. This is Avalar Atlântico. So a lot of them you get ocean views or a pool. You kind of make the choice. 150,000 euros gets you a decent one, and a lot of them come furnished too, depending on where you buy in Portugal. And I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there, you know. And you know what country? A lot of people that know of Portugal end up retiring in Portugal. I have a lot of friends that are not of Portuguese descent, but they've retired there. Their parents have retired to Portugal, which is really interesting because Portugal is a country you never hear of too much. And there's no immigration there because nobody wants to live there in Portugal. Everyone thinks of Portugal, they think it's a toilet of Europe, so nobody wants to go there. And it's very food. If you like food, then you know fish and all that stuff, you know. So
dude, live in the interior, man. You can get a house.
Live in the interior. So Oates is saying, what other countries have cheap housing? I'm just looking for options because I don't want to work for 10 years to afford a home in Vancouver.
Well, then don't buy in Vancouver.
Yeah, come into the interior. If you're looking to leave the whole country, then maybe move into the interior. Move into like where you know.
Go to like Trail, BC.
Trail. Go 100 mile.
Powell River.
Powell River, yeah.
Castlegar.
Yeah, Castlegar's nice.
Slocan Valley.
Yeah, Peach. What's that? Peachland?
Peachland. That's near Kelowna. That's not that cheap.
No, Peachland.
Penticton, Peachland, and Kelowna are more affordable than Vancouver. So if you want like a good balance of like a nice place with a decent population and good weather and a lake nearby and you know driving distance kind of to Vancouver, then Kelowna is okay. But if you want like cheap, then yeah, more interior, even more like deeper in.
Yeah. Okay.
You get a place for like 200,000. You get a house for 200,000 in some parts of BC still.
Oh yeah, I paid $260 for this house.
Yeah, like 200,000 gets you a decent house in like, you know, middle of nowhere type places. But you have to be self-sufficient. You have to have a way to, you know,
multiple streams of income.
Yeah, so either you're living off of investments, or you have a home-based business or something like that, or you can start up a business there. That's, you know, maybe you have a good trade and you're good at carpentry, you're a good electrician, you're a good plumber, something like that. You find a good town that's got a good market, you know, you scope it out and, you know, build a business there. That could work.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, it's Mike Martins and Hiroshi here. We're signing off, and I want to thank everyone for joining us.
Yeah, head north. I agree.
Head north. Yeah, head north. I mean, we're all far west.
And when the economy finally implodes, and what's going to happen is all the cities are going to get screwed first because they're going to run out of food.
Yeah, the cities will get run out of food, yeah.
And there's going to be riots and, like, you know, marauding bands of thugs, like, killing people and breaking into houses. And that's going to happen in the cities first, right? So the people that are out in the woods that can survive without anything, they can get water from the...
I got my rain barrel.
so they can get water from the lake or the stream, and they can hunt for food, and they can grow their own vegetables. Like those kind of people, they're the ones who are going to survive. The city people are all going to die, right?
Yeah,
that's what I think's going to happen. But hey, that's like maybe another 20 years away. We'll see. Might be sooner.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your feedback. And I'll have Hiroshi on the phone. Next week, we'll get Steve the Plumber on the show if he's available, and we'll get him to talk about what's happening out in the East Coast in the housing crisis. Thank you, guys. Goodbye.